quick like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. My name is Nathan. I'm 37 years old, and I work as a senior accountant for Morrison & Beck, a mid-sized firm in Austin, Texas. I've spent the last 15 years analyzing numbers, finding patterns, spotting discrepancies that other people miss. It's what I do for a living. It's what I'm good at. I just never thought I'd need to use those skills on my own wife. Jessica and I have been married for 9 years. We met at a mutual friend's engagement party when I was 27. She was working as a sales coordinator for a pharmaceutical company, and I was just starting to build my career in accounting. We connected over terrible wedding DJ music and cheap wine, and by the end of the night, I had her number. We dated for 2 years before I proposed. The wedding was small, intimate, exactly what we both wanted. For the first few years, everything was good. We bought a house in a quiet neighborhood in Round Rock, about 20 minutes north of downtown Austin. We talked about starting a family eventually. We had routines, inside jokes, a life that felt stable and real. Then about 3 years ago, Jessica started going out more. At first, it was once a month. Girls' night with her college friends, she said. They'd meet at a wine bar or try a new restaurant, catch up on life, decompress for work stress. I thought it was healthy, important even. Everyone needs time with their friends. Once a month became twice a month. Then every week. Then twice a week. The girls want to try that new place on 6th Street, she'd say, already putting on earrings, checking her makeup in the hallway mirror. Again, I'd ask, didn't you just see them on Thursday? That was Rachel's birthday. This is just a regular hangout. She'd kiss my cheek absently, grab her purse, and be out the door before I could ask anything else. I started noticing a pattern. She'd leave around 7, come home after midnight, sometimes 1 in the morning, sometimes later. She'd slip into bed smelling like perfume and alcohol, and when I'd ask how her night was, she'd mumble something generic about the food being good or the wine being overpriced. The details were always vague. The enthusiasm was always forced. But I told myself I was being paranoid. Jessica had never given me a reason not to trust her. She'd always been social, always had an active group of friends. This was normal. This was fine. Then came the night that changed everything. It was a Saturday in early October. Jessica announced that morning that she was going out with the girls again. Some kind of special celebration, Rachel's promotion, or maybe it was Jennifer's new job. I couldn't keep track anymore. Don't wait up, she said, applying lipstick in our bathroom mirror. We might go dancing after dinner. Where are you going? That new Italian place downtown. Sorella's, I think it's called. Expensive. She shrugged. It's a celebration. We're splitting the bill. She left at 6:30, dressed in a black cocktail dress I'd never seen before, heels that made her 3 inches taller, makeup applied with more care than she'd used in months. I spent the evening watching a football game, eating leftover pizza, waiting for her to come home. Midnight came and went. Then 1 a.m. Then 2. At 2:30, I heard her car in the driveway. I was still awake, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling. She came in quietly, trying not to wake me. I heard her heels drop in the hallway, heard her stumble slightly, drunk or just tired. She went to the bathroom, brushed her teeth, and slipped into bed beside me. Good night, I asked. She jumped slightly. I thought you were asleep. Couldn't sleep. How was it? Fine. Good. The food was amazing. What did you have? Pasta. Some kind of carbonara thing. Sound good? Yeah. I'm exhausted. Can we talk in the morning? She rolled over, facing away from me, and within minutes she was asleep. I lay there in the dark, listening to her breathe, and something in my gut told me to check. The next morning, Jessica slept until 11. I was already up, making coffee, when I decided to look at our bank account. We had separate personal accounts, but one joint account for household expenses. Mortgage, utilities, groceries, that kind of thing. We each contributed a set amount every month. $2, $500 from me, $1,800 from her, to cover our shared costs. I logged into the joint account on my laptop and started scrolling through recent transactions. There it was. October 7th, yesterday. Sorella's Italian Kitchen. $847.32. $847. For girls' night out. I stared at the screen, reading the number again and again, trying to make sense of it. For women, splitting a dinner bill shouldn't cost $850. Even an expensive restaurant. Even with drinks. even with appetizers and dessert and top-shelf wine. Unless they weren't splitting the bill. Unless there weren't 4 women. I scrolled back through the account history. Started looking at other charges from Jessica's previous girls' nights. September 23rd. Midnight Lounge. $312.18. September 15th. Chico. $628.45. September 2nd. The Roosevelt Room. $289.76. August 19th. Fleming Steakhouse. $731.22. I kept scrolling. Kept finding charges. Kept adding up numbers that didn't make sense. 2 months of girls' nights. Over $4,000 in charges. My hand started shaking. I went back further. 6 months. A year. 2 years. The pattern was consistent. Every girls' night out resulted in a charge ranging from $200 to $850. Sometimes from restaurants. Sometimes from bars. Sometimes from places I'd never heard of. In the past 2 years, Jessica's girls' nights had cost us over $47,000. $47,000. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at my laptop screen, feeling something cold and sharp settle into my chest. This wasn't girls' night out. This was something else entirely. Jessica came downstairs around 11:30, yawning, still in her pajamas. "Morning," she said, pouring herself coffee. "What are you doing?" "Looking at our bank statements." She stiffened slightly. "What?" "Just reviewing our expenses. Making sure everything's on track." And I turned the laptop toward her. "Can you explain this charge from last night?" $847 at Sorella's. Her face went carefully blank. That's what the bill was. For 4 people. There were more than 4. Rachel invited some other friends. It ended up being like 8 or 9 of us. And you pay the entire bill. We took turns. Someone else will cover the next one. That's a pretty expensive turn. She shrugged, sipping her coffee. "It's not a big deal, Nathan. It's just one night." Except it's not just one night. I scrolled through the statements. It's every night. You've spent over $4,000 in the last 2 months on girls' nights. That's an exaggeration. It's literally right here. Do you want me to add it up for you? Her jaw tightened. Are you seriously going to lecture me about spending money? I contribute to this household just like you do. You contribute $1,800 a month to household expenses. You're spending more than twice that on nights out. With my own money. Money that could be going toward our mortgage, our savings, our future. God, Nathan, do you hear yourself? You sound like my father. She set down her coffee cup hard enough that it sloshed. I work hard. I deserve to have fun with my friends. I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm not asking you to apologize. I'm asking you to explain how girls' night out costs $800. I already explained. There were a lot of us. The bill was high. I covered it. End of story. Who else was there? What? Last night. Who else was there besides you, Rachel, and Jennifer? She hesitated. Just for a second. Just long enough for me to notice. Some other friends. I don't remember all their names. You don't remember the names of the people you spent $800 buying dinner for? Nathan, I was drinking. It was a fun night. I didn't take attendance. I closed my laptop. Looked at my wife. Really looked at her. She was defensive. Evasive. Her story had holes big enough to drive a truck through. When's the next girls' night? I asked quietly. I don't know. Why? Because I'd like to meet these friends of yours. Since I'm apparently funding their social lives. That's not necessary. I think it is. You're being controlling. I'm being curious. There's a difference. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she grabbed her coffee and walked out of the kitchen without another word. I sat there alone, looking at the bank statements on my screen, and made a decision. I was going to find out exactly what Jessica was doing with $47,000 of her money. That afternoon, while Jessica was at the gym, or claimed to be, I started digging deeper. I pulled up 2 years of credit card statements. Not just the joint account, but Jessica's personal credit card too. I had access because we'd set up all our accounts together years ago, back when we had nothing to hide from each other. What I found made my stomach turn. The charges on our joint account were just the beginning. On her personal credit card, there were dozens more. Hotel charges, the Four Seasons, the Driscoll, the W Hotel, all in Austin, all on nights when Jessica claimed to be out with the girls. Why would you need a hotel room in your own city? Unless you weren't alone. I kept scrolling. Found charges for men's clothing stores. Nordstrom, J. Crew, a custom suit shop on Congress Avenue. Over $3,000 in the past year for men's clothes. Jessica didn't have brothers. Her father lived in Dallas and bought his own clothes. Who was she buying suits for? Then I found the Venmo transactions. Jessica's Venmo was linked to her phone, which was synced to our shared iPad. I opened the app and scrolled through her transaction history. There were dozens of payments. Small amounts, mostly. $40 here, $75 there. All to the same person. Paid Brandon K. Dinner smiling face with smiling eyes. Paid Brandon K. Drinks last night. Paid Brandon K. Thanks for a great evening, red heart. Brandon K. I clicked on his profile. The account was private, but I could see his profile picture. A guy in his early 30s, dark hair, confident smile. Good looking in that generic, unthreatening way. I felt something crack inside my chest. This wasn't girls' night out. This was an affair. And I've been paying for it. I sat with that knowledge for a long time. Didn't move. Didn't call anyone. Just sat there at our kitchen table, looking at the evidence on our shared iPad, feeling 9 years of marriage disintegrate around me. Jessica came home from the gym around 4. She was cheerful, energized, like our morning argument had never happened. Hey babe, she said, kissing my cheek. I'm going to shower and then start dinner. You hungry? Not really. You okay? You look pale. I'm fine. She studied me for a moment, then shrugged and headed upstairs. I listened to the shower turn on, listened to her singing some pop song I didn't recognize, listened to her living her life like everything was normal while my entire world was falling apart. I pulled out my phone and called my attorney. His name was Douglas Freeman. I'd worked with him on some estate planning 2 years ago. He was sharp, thorough, and discreet. Nathan, he answered. Been a while. What can I do for you? I need to file for divorce. There was a pause. When? As soon as possible. What happened? I told him. The bank statements. The hotel charges. The Venmo payments to Brandon K. All of it. Douglas listened without interrupting. When I finished, he let out a low whistle. That's pretty damning evidence. Texas is a no-fault state, though. Does it matter? For the divorce itself, no. But for asset division, absolutely. If you can prove she spent marital funds on an extramarital affair, the court can consider that when dividing property, you might be entitled to reimbursement. How much are we talking? How much did she spend? I pulled up my spreadsheet. I've been tracking everything while Jessica was at the gym. $47,000 from our joint account over 2 years. Another $18,000 from her personal credit card for hotels and gifts. $65,000 total. Jesus. Yeah. Okay. Here's what we do. Document everything. Bank statements, credit card bills, Venmo transactions, hotel receipts. Everything. Give me copies by tomorrow if you can. I'll start drafting a petition. How long will this take? In Texas, there's a 60-day waiting period from filing to finalization. But the process can take longer depending on whether she contests anything. She'll contest. She's not going to just roll over. Let her. The evidence is on your side. I hung up and spent the next 2 hours compiling documents. Bank statements going back 3 years. Credit card bills. Venmo transaction histories. Screenshots of hotel charges. I organized everything into a spreadsheet with dates, amounts, and categories. Restaurants. Hotels. Gifts. Entertainment. By the time Jessica called me for dinner, I had a complete financial record of her affair. $65,000. Over 2 years. All spent on Brandon K. While I paid our mortgage, our utilities, our insurance, our groceries. I've been subsidizing my wife's betrayal. We ate dinner in silence. Jessica made pasta, one of my favorites, and kept trying to make conversation. So I was thinking we could go to that new brewery this weekend. The one that just opened in Mueller. Maybe. Or we could drive out of Fredericksburg. Do the wine country thing. We haven't done that in forever. I've got a lot of work this weekend. She set down her fork. Nathan, what's wrong? You've been weird all day. Just tired. Is this about the bank statement thing this morning? Because I told you, it's not a big deal. Right. I'm serious. You're making this into something it's not. I looked at her across the table. My wife of 9 years. The woman I trusted completely. The woman who was sitting here lying to my face while her phone buzzed with what was probably a text from Brandon. Who's Brandon? I asked. Her face went white. What? Brandon K. The guy you've been Venmo-ing money to. Who is he? He's just a friend. A friend you buy dinner for? A friend you book hotel rooms with. You went through my Venmo. It's on our shared iPad. I didn't have to go through anything. It's right there. She stood up abruptly. You have no right to spy on me. I have every right to question why you're spending our money on another man. It's my money. It's our money. We have joint accounts, joint credit cards, joint finances. There's no my money in a marriage, Jessica. Oh my God. Listen to yourself. You sound insane. I sound insane. You've spent $65,000 on an affair, and I sound insane. She froze. It's not an affair. Then what is it? Brandon is a colleague. We're friends. We go out sometimes. It's completely innocent. Innocent friends don't book hotel rooms together. Those were for conferences. In Austin, where we live, you needed a hotel room for a conference in your own city. She didn't have an answer for that. I stood up, grabbed my plate, and put in the sink without eating another bite. I filed for divorce, I said quietly. You'll be served papers in the next few days. Jessica's mouth fell open. You what? I'm done. I'm not going to sit here and be lied to while you spend our savings on your boyfriend. Nathan, wait. I'm staying at a hotel tonight. I'll be back tomorrow to get some of my things. I suggest you call Brandon and see if he's got room for you. I grabbed my wallet and keys and walked out before she could say another word. I spent that night at a Hampton Inn near the airport, lying awake in a generic hotel room, staring at the ceiling, processing the end of my marriage. My phone buzzed constantly. Jessica calling, texting, leaving voicemails that went from apologetic to angry to desperate. Nathan, please come home. We need to talk about this. You're overreacting. Brandon is just a friend. Fine. Don't answer. But you can't just leave like this. I can't believe you're throwing away 9 years over a misunderstanding. You're being cruel, and you know it. I didn't respond to any of them. The next morning, I met Douglas at his office and handed over all the documentation I compiled. He spread it out on his conference table, reviewing each page carefully. This is very thorough, he said. I'm an accountant. Thorough is what I do. It's going to help. A lot. He tapped one of the hotel receipts. These charges alone are going to be hard for her to explain. She said they were for conferences. Conferences that required her to stay at the Four Seasons in her own city at $450 a night. That's what she said. No judge is going to buy that. And these Venmo payments with heart emojis? This is pretty damning stuff, Nathan. What's the next step? I'll file the petition today. She'll be served within 48 hours. After that, we'll go through discovery. She'll have to provide her own financial records, answer questions under oath. If she's smart, she'll settle. And if she's not, then we go to trial and let a judge decide. Either way, with this evidence, you're in a strong position. I left Douglas's office and drove back to the house. Jessica's car was in the driveway. I'd hoped she'd be at work, but apparently she'd taken a day off. She was waiting for me in the living room when I walked in. We need to talk, she said. There's nothing to talk about. Nathan, please. Just give me 5 minutes. I sighed. 5 minutes. She took a breath, visibly gathering herself. I'm sorry. I know I should have told you about Brandon. But it's not what you think. What do I think? You think I'm having an affair. I'm not. Brandon and I are just friends. Yes, we go out sometimes. Yes, I bought him dinner a few times. But it's completely platonic. Platonic friends don't book hotel rooms together. Those were for work events. We went together because we work on the same accounts. Your company doesn't pay for hotel rooms at work events. She hesitated. They do, but sometimes the rooms sell out and we have to book our own. And you couldn't commute from home? 30 minutes away. It was easier to just stay downtown. With Brandon. In separate rooms. The charges show 1 room. Jessica. 1 reservation. 1 king bed. Her face flushed. That's not. I have the receipts. I have her Venmo history. I have 2 years of evidence that you've been spending our money on another man. You can keep lying, but we both know the truth. She started crying then. Not the gentle, sad kind of crying. The desperate, panic kind. Okay, yes. Brandon and I have been seeing each other. But it's not serious. It doesn't mean anything. He makes me feel young again. Alive. Like I matter. And I don't make you feel like you matter. You're always working. You're always stressed. We never do anything fun anymore. So you found someone else to do fun things with. Using my money. Our money. Money I earned. Money I deposited into our account. Money you spent on hotels and dinners and custom suits for your boyfriend. She wiped her eyes. I'll end it. I'll stop seeing Brandon. We can go to counseling. We can fix this. I don't want to fix it. Nathan, I don't want to be married to someone who lies to me for 2 years, who spends $65,000 on an affair and then tells me it doesn't mean anything, who only apologizes when they get caught. Everyone makes mistakes. This wasn't a mistake, Jessica. This was a choice. A choice you made every single time you met Brandon. Every time you booked a hotel room. Every time you spent our money on him instead of us. You chose him over me hundreds of times. Now I'm choosing myself. I went upstairs and started packing. Clothes, toiletries, important documents. Everything I need for the next few months while the divorce went through. Jessica followed me, still crying, still pleading. Please don't do this. I love you. I'll do anything to fix this. I zipped up my suitcase and looked at her. If you loved me, you wouldn't have spent 2 years lying to my face. I left, drove to a short-term rental apartment I'd found online the night before. 1 bedroom, furnished, month-to-month lease. It wasn't home, but it was mine. Jessica was served with divorce papers 2 days later. At work, in front of her colleagues, by a professional process server who handed her the manila envelope and asked her to sign for receipt. She called me immediately, furious. How could you serve me at work? Do you have any idea how humiliating that was? I had no control over when you got served. You could have had them send it to the house. I wanted to make sure you actually received it. Everyone saw, Nathan. My boss saw. My whole team saw. Then maybe you should have thought about that before you spent 2 years having an affair. She hung up on me. Her attorney contacted Douglas the following week. A woman named Sharon Price, apparently one of the top divorce attorneys in Austin. Sharon's opening position was aggressive, 50-50 split of all assets, including my retirement account, plus spousal support for 5 years. Douglas laughed when he told me. She's fishing, he said, trying to see if you'll panic and settle. What did you tell her? I told her we have extensive documentation of her client's affair and the marital funds she spent on it. I told her we're seeking reimbursement of $65,000 plus punitive damages for breach of fiduciary duty. Can we actually do that? We can try. Worst case, the judge reduces the reimbursement amount. Best case, we get everything we're asking for. What did Sharon say? She said she'd be in touch. The divorce process dragged on for months. Discovery, depositions, back and forth negotiations between attorneys. During her deposition, Jessica admitted to the affair, but claimed it had only been going on for 6 months, not 2 years. Claimed most of the money was spent on legitimate girls' nights, and Brandon just happened to be there sometimes. Douglas presented the Venmo receipts with dates going back 23 months. The hotel charges spanning the same period. The pattern of expenses that coincided with nights Jessica claimed to be out with friends. Sharon tried to argue that Jessica's personal spending was her own business, that she earned her own income and could spend it however she wanted. Douglas countered that marital funds from joint accounts had been used extensively, and that Jessica's personal spending had directly contributed to the depletion of household savings. By month 4, Sharon called Douglas with a settlement offer. Jessica would waive any claim to my retirement account in exchange for me waiving the reimbursement claim. We'd split the equity in the house 50-50, split our savings account 50-50, and go our separate ways. What do you think? Douglas asked me. I did the math. The house had about $80,000 in equity. Our savings had $22,000. My retirement account was worth about $190,000. If I accepted the settlement, I'd lose $51,000 but keep my retirement intact. If we went to trial, I might get the $65,000 reimbursement, but I'd spend another $20,000 in legal fees with no guarantee of winning. Take the deal, I said. We signed a settlement agreement in mid-March, 6 months after I discovered the $847 charge that started everything. The house went on the market immediately. We got a decent offer within 3 weeks and closed 30 days later. Jessica took her half of the proceeds and moved into an apartment on the east side. I took my half and put it toward a down payment on a condo in downtown Austin. The divorce was finalized in late April. 9 years of marriage, ended with a judge's signature on a stack of legal documents. I saw Jessica one last time at the final hearing. She looked different. Thinner, tired, less polished than I remembered. Brandon wasn't with her. After the judge signed the decree, I walked out of the courthouse and drove to my new place. Smaller than the house we'd shared, but it was mine. No memories of Jessica, No reminders of the life we'd built together. I heard through mutual friends what happened to Jessica and Brandon. Apparently, once the affair was no longer secret, once there was no thrill of sneaking around, the relationship fell apart fast. Brandon wasn't interested in actually being her boyfriend. He liked the excitement, the expensive dinners, the hotel rooms. He didn't like the reality of a girlfriend with baggage and a messy divorce. They broke up 2 months after my divorce was final. Jessica tried to reach out after that. Sent me an email saying she'd made a terrible mistake, that she realized too late what she'd lost, that she hoped we could talk. I deleted it without responding. Some doors, once closed, should stay that way. I threw myself into work. Got promoted to partner at Morrison & Beck 8 months after the divorce. Started traveling more, taking on bigger clients, building a career that belonged entirely to me. I dated casually. Nothing serious for the first year. Wasn't ready for serious. But eventually I met someone. Her name was Claire. She was a financial planner, understood numbers the way I did, and had zero interest in playing games. We took it slow. I told her about Jessica, about the affair, about the $65,000 spent on another man. Claire listened without judgment. "Do you still love her?" she asked. "No," I said. "I don't think I ever really knew her. The woman I thought I married wouldn't have done what she did." "Then you didn't lose her. You just stopped pretending she was someone she never was." That resonated with me in a way I hadn't expected. 2 years after the divorce, I was having dinner with Claire at a restaurant downtown when I saw Jessica across the room. She was alone, eating at the bar, scrolling through her phone. She looked up and saw me. Saw Claire. Saw the way I was smiling, engaged, present in a way I hadn't been for years. Our eyes met for just a moment. Then she looked away. I turned back to Claire and continued our conversation like nothing had happened. Because nothing had happened. Jessica was my past. An expensive, painful lesson in trusting the wrong person. But she wasn't my future. That $847 charge for girls' night out had been the thread that unraveled everything. One expense that didn't make sense, leading to 2 years of bank statements, leading to the truth I'd been too trusting to see. Jessica had spent $65,000 of our money on an affair. She'd lied about it for 2 years. And when she got caught, she'd only been sorry she couldn't keep doing it. Some people never learn that actions have consequences. They just learn to blame other people when those consequences arrive. Jessica lost her marriage, her home, her savings, and eventually Brandon. All because she wanted the excitement of an affair without giving up the security of a husband. She tried to both and ended up with neither. As for me, I learned to trust my instincts, to look at the numbers, to ask questions when things didn't add up. And I learned that sometimes the most expensive lesson is the one that teaches you what you're actually worth. I was worth more than being lied to. Worth more than financing someone else's betrayal. Worth more than a marriage built on deception. That $847 charge showed me the truth. And the truth, however painful, set me free.